and welcome to Free to Play. This is video 3 of 3 for our paper series, our Valentine's Day edition. Today we are going to make these paper clay vases. This is mine already completed, as well as these paper flowers. I'll show you how to make both of these ones that I have here, a rose and a little wildflower. And then I'm also going to show you how to make a paper bowl as well. So we're going to do paper clay today and then use our flower paper from video 2 to make these paper flowers. So if you didn't do video 2's activity, I guess you could use any paper that you have lying around. But this is going to use video 2's paper clay, or flower paper for these flowers. And then I'll teach you the process of paper clay today. So this is by far the best craft that I've done so far. The paper clay into the vase was really, really fun. It brought out my sculptor side, and so I really do hope that you enjoy and play along with me. Alright, so for this video, making paper clay, I did get this idea straight from a Sibster account on Instagram, so I will share her information below. But we are going to turn egg cartons into paper clay. These are cardboard egg cartons. We always get organic eggs. We try our best to get regenerative organic. I have peeled the stickers off to the best of my ability, and we are just going to tear these egg cartons up and put them in a bowl. I want to soak this at least 12 hours in order to blend it. So I will cut that up and put it in a bowl. Hello. It is now the next day, so our egg cartons have been soaking for at least 24 hours. They're definitely really much softer, and they are ready to be blended. So let's go ahead and start that process. I'm outside today. The weather is like finally not rainy and too windy, and overall feels really nice out here, so really happy about the weather. I'm going to use water in this blender too. I'm going to show you how to strain this with cheesecloth. You do want to get this blended really well, because the more blended this is for your clay, just the more the smoother consistency your clay can be. So just make sure you blend these really, really well. So now that this is pretty blended up, I'm going to go ahead and put it, I have lined a big strainer thing with some cheesecloth. I get this natural cheesecloth in bulk and I use it for everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it over the ground so it doesn't get my table all wet. And then I'm just going to let this sit while I do my other batch. And then I'll show you how to strain it when we're done. Alright, so I have my paper pulp in my cheesecloth, and I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze out the extra water. I definitely recommend doing a cheesecloth method. The first time I tried paper clay, I didn't, and I had a lot of extra water in my clay mixture, which just made the clay mixture dry really slowly. So I really recommend this. There's a lot of water in there. There's a little bee. doing. Alright. So then I have my paper pulp. I'll go ahead and show you. So that's what it looks like. It's all shredded, but it's like pretty dry. So now I'll take you and we will add flour and some water and turn it into clay. Alright, so we have our paper pulp all shredded and blended and then wringed out with water, or wringed out of all the water. We have some Morton salt. I use my non-organic flour for my creative projects. And we have some water. I have a half of the cup measurement because I'm going to add flour half of the cup at a time. And I'm actually going to get some gloves as well, so black gloves. Just because I don't want all the flour and paper to get into my fingernails. So I'm going to start with just half of a cup, roughly half of a cup of flour. And I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle that in with just a little bit of salt. And I'm just going to start combining that with my hands. I'm just kind of squeezing it together. So I added another half of a cup of flour and just a little bit of water. I'm going to show you the end consistency so you can like kind of see how, because this is kind of just a play process. Well, everything is a play process, but you're kind of just seeing how it turns out. It's kind of just play and see how much flour to water to ratio to paper pulp you think you'll need. If your kids like sensory stuff and like feeling gross stuff with their hands, this could be fun for them too. I did do this with my daughter the first time I tried it out, but she actually didn't like touching the clay. But she loves dirt and mud, so that's okay. But I don't like touching it with bare hands either. I much prefer to use gloves, so I don't blame her. So it's starting to get into a consistency that I like. It just basically can't be as papery. I'm going to add another fourth of a cup of flour, maybe a little less, and then a little bit more water, and a little bit more salt. And again, I got this paper clay technique or like ingredients or process from that Simster account that I got the paper making process from. So I'll go ahead and include her information below so you can check her out. She hasn't made vases, so it's kind of my spin on it. I'm going to make vases and we're going to use toilet paper rolls, so you'll need those. I was thinking yesterday how our creative soul is kind of like a muscle that we have to engage with in order for it to, like, I don't know, be activated. It's an energy, right, that we have to engage with, to play with. It's this imaginative, creative energy, and I feel like so many of us lose our imagination and our creativity and our teenage life. And I just feel like it's like when you buy a car and you never usually see that car. Like, you've never noticed a Volkswagen Bug before. And then you buy the car, and all of a sudden you start to see it everywhere. Like, the Volkswagen Bugs are everywhere. You're like, oh my god, everyone has a Volkswagen Bug. And it's not that there are more Volkswagen Bugs than before, but you just have activated that awareness. Like, that awareness, now your eyes are drawn to it. Now you're like noticing them more. Some more about yourself too. So if like you're only activating, you're not activating your creative energy is really your soul energy. It really is. It's what makes you a unique force in this world. Your imagination and because your imagination is this like connection, this bridge between this physical realm and this spiritual realm that you came from, this soul realm. So like it's a manifestation in this physical realm of who you truly are and your potential. At least that's what I think. And I just feel like the more we don't engage with that, we lose a part of ourselves. And we stop noticing ourselves as much. Like, what makes us unique? And we start just morphing into our surroundings. But the more you access and engage with this soul energy that you have, your creative energy, the more on fire you become. It's like this fire lights in your belly and you're just passionate about life. And play is just such a huge part of life, and I just don't understand why we lose touch with it. And what is play? Play can change. My daughter and I talk about it all the time. Like, this is mommy's play, Hazel. You play in your room and you want to play with me, and that's how you want to play, but also mommy has play and dad has play, and this is how we play, and this is how we stay connected to that part of ourselves. And so your play can evolve and change. You don't have to play with Barbies your whole life or Legos, you know. It's like age-appropriate play. All right, so it is coming together for sure. I think I might add a little bit more. Flour. I don't know, it's my goal through these YouTube interactions that I can also share a part of just my journey in this world and what I've learned. So maybe talking more throughout creative processes and just sharing my thoughts with you. So I hope you appreciate that or can apply it to your life. Breathing, making sure you're aware of your breath while you're engaging in creativity and just staying connected. I have a hard time sometimes when I get into creative zones, I lose touch with my humanness. Right? I lose touch with my physical body. I don't eat. I don't sleep. And I stop tending to my physical self, which is just as important. So breath is that bridge, and the more you stay connected to your breath, the more you can integrate rest and release into that creative process. I spoke a little bit about yesterday how I need to get better at like resting in between and trusting. Or in my upcycled jacket video, I share about this a little bit, because when I create fashion especially, I get so absorbed. And it's really out of fear that I'm gonna lose my creative vision that I want to bring from my soul world into the physical world. And sometimes I feel rushed to do that, and that's when I'm losing touch with my physical self. But yeah, it's all a balance. You just stay connected with your breath. So making sure you're aware of your breath. I try and be aware of my breath while I sew and while I'm cutting and kneading paper clay. So it's starting to look less papery for sure. If you get like plastic bits in your paper, plastic is just everywhere. it usually just pops out, like it's not gonna absorb into the paper, so you could just kind of pick it out as you go. But it's looking pretty good. So this is the clay consistency. You can kind of, I should bring you more into the shade. You can kind of see how it's less papery and a little more clay consistency, so it like kind of just sticks together when you glue it in your hands. Kind of just molds a little bit better. So that's the consistency you want. You'll notice the difference, like you can kind of still tell it's papery, but you'll definitely know the difference between when it starts versus now. Definitely more sticky, just kind of molds really nicely. So that's the consistency you want to get. We're going to grab our paper towel rolls or our toilet paper rolls now, depending on what size vase you want, and go ahead and start sculpting. Alright, welcome back. I have my paper toilet paper roll, and I have my clay, and let's get ready to sculpt some vases. I have never done this before. I don't know really what I'm doing, so you are directly coming on my clay process right now. All that's different is I just have a camera in front of me. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start molding around this toilet paper roll. Maybe I'll like flatten it first. And like sculpt around. I wonder if I could put, yeah, okay, so you're just like sculpting around. I have a pretty like sturdy toilet paper roll, like it's not very flimsy. I'm not sure if a flimsy one might make this a little bit harder to do. So I'm just kind of like connecting the sides. I'm making the bottom right now of the vase. It helps to flatten the clay before you start sculpting it on to the roll. So far, that's what I've noticed. But if your clay is a good consistency, I don't see why it wouldn't work. Because it's working for me. It is a little bit challenging to sculpt, but I don't think sculpting is meant to be easy. I'm thinking I might need to grab a tool for the inside, just to reach the bottom. But you're going to want to go ahead and just like, maybe you could roll it on the table. I definitely need to grab a tool, so I'm going to go find that and be right back. I found a like wooden thing, so I'm just going to go ahead and gently dab down on the bottom onto the table. Let's see what that looks so much better. So then you can go on the bottom. Yeah, that looks a lot better. So definitely get a tool, something with a flat edge, to just gently press onto the bottom, onto your surface. And you could probably do that last. but I was just curious. You could probably also use the tool to like flatten out the edges. Oh yeah. So I should add this in like tools you'll need. Just like a, ooh yeah, that's good. Mine's like a paintbrush. But that really does a nice job, and even for like sculpting purposes, like if you don't just want yours flat, I might sculpt one and make it like a proper vase, you know? Okay, I'm gonna keep going up. And this clay doesn't like really dry very quickly, so you're not in like a press for time with that. But I definitely like this wooden roller to assist with this process so far. Alright, so I'm really liking how it's coming along so far. Sorry you couldn't see my face in the previous 5 minutes. I mean, you don't really need to see my face if we're focused on the vase. Face and vase. But, okay. So I really like how it's coming along. I really like this roller thing. Really convenient. Works really well to combine the clay. And the reason we're using toilet paper rolls is because we're going to just keep the roll in there. Like, that's just, I mean, that is my vision of the whole thing, is just kind of the roll being a part of the vase. Because I thought about it, and I was going to use glass, and then I was like, oh, you can't use glass because then you can't take it out. And it would just be far too complicated. The Sipster account shows you how to use clay to make plates, which I showed you in the beginning of the video, of this video, which you can use like ceramic plates, because then you're molding them on the inside of the plate, which also is very easy, much easier. So if you want like an introduction to working with paper clay, I highly, highly recommend going and just taking a ceramic plate. I could even just quickly show it to you how to do it. And you just take saran wrap and put it on the inside of the plate, and you just like press the clay into the plate, and then it dries, and you just take it out of the plate, and no harm done, right? This is a little bit harder because you are molding on to something, not just pressing the clay into a hard plate object. So, having done both, this is definitely harder to do, and will probably take more practice to get to look like really nice. But so far I think it's looking really nice, honestly. So for the top, I don't know, maybe you could like bring it up like this and push it in. And if I'm gonna make it straight, I want it to be as flat as possible, my vase, so I'm gonna go around and like roll it out. Definitely recommend this. Has been my most used tool so far in this process. I love it. Okay. I'm just kind of like sculpting the top and how I want it to be. Definitely want it to be all the same height. I'm bringing it up a little bit higher than the toilet paper roll, just because I want to see it a little higher. And then I'm just going to use my fingers to mold it together. But this is really fun. I highly recommend this project, especially if you're out in the sun and it's sunny where you are in February, or in the shade. A rainy day, sculpting day would be really nice too. It's definitely like silly looking, but I really like it. So I'm just gonna like really make sure it's all connected. But if you remember like me showing you how sturdy my plates were in the beginning of the video, I have no doubt that this is gonna dry just as sturdy. And then once you paint the outside, and maybe you could like use Mod Podge again. Well, maybe I could use Mod Podge to like wrap a napkin or a cloth around this, make it look really nice. Or you could even sand it and make it really, but this looks really pretty, honestly. And you could do a bunch of different shapes with this, so I'm gonna try another one. I like how this came out, but I'm gonna try another one and add some shape to it. But here is the little paper clay vase. And I will show you once it's dry, and then we'll go ahead and decorate it together. In the meantime, let's go ahead and make some paper flowers to put in our vase. So it is the next day after making this vase. I also did mess around with a friend last night, and we played around with like making some flowers. She had a great idea to bring over like a pamphlet of desert flowers. She kind of like copied a couple. This is like meant to be like a pinwheel flower, kind of like wildflowery. But the vase I am particularly impressed with. I love it. I think it looks so cute. It's not quite dry yet, so I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna give it a couple more, like a day to dry it before we paint it. I'm just gonna paint it a little later. But look how cute for like a dried flower when it's all painted and pretty. It works so well. So yeah, let's go ahead and walk through some ways that you can maybe play around with making a dried flower, or sorry, a paper flower. Some of the ways that I did it. Again, this is all in play, so I don't think any way that you decide to make a flower will be wrong or right. So we have our flower paper here. I have my hot glue gun. Again, it's very hot. It smells. The first process I'm going to show you is how to make this pinwheel flower that that I created. So to make that, you're just going to go ahead and cut this circle in half. So it's about 2 equal size pieces. Mine are definitely not the same size, which is okay. And then you're going to go ahead and accordion style fold it. So one side one way, flip it over, fold it back. One side one way, flip it over, fold it back. And just keep doing that along the whole side. And if you've ever made, you can like cut off an edge if there's like excess. If you've ever made like a fan, you can also like glue on some of the flowers that are falling off. That's what I've been doing, just kind of gluing them on again. But if you've ever made like a paper fan, this is kind of a similar process. So what I did is I folded it in half, like that. And then you're gonna glue together the folded side. I did not do a very good job folding it appropriately. So trying to fold it in half, ideally, and then gluing together that folded side. So just putting glue right there, and glue right there, and then going and sticking that together, just that edge. So then it'll look like this so far. So then you have like half of a flower. And to me it kind of like looks like a shell at this point. So you could make little shells to have around your house. From here you have this fan-like fold at the top, and then you have this extra folds down here. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to just cut off like the extra. There's a flower right here, so I'm not going to cut it all the way off. But you don't want all that extra. And then what you're going to do is cut a straight line in the middle, kind of lined up with that glued line. You're going to cut a slit in your paper where the fold is. So you see how there's like some folds down there, and I just cut a slit down the middle that lines up with that glued fold edge. So now I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it to the side, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. And again, you can just reuse these paper scraps into another paper, like making your own paper again. So all of these paper scraps can be just recycled and keep filtering through the process. So I folded it. I'm going to glue that edge. The Super Bowl was yesterday, and my friend and I sat inside just making paper flowers. Not a care in the world that the Super Bowl was on. I wonder if you watched. If you did, let me know who your team was. I don't even really know who won. I know who played. Alright, so now that's glued together, so I'll just do the same thing. I'll kind of just take down the edge, or this bottom, and then like cut that slit right here. So now I have two half pinwheels with two slits. So what I'm going to do is you're going to combine them. Just gluing on a flower. Alright, so then you're going to combine them. So you're going to attach them by putting the slits like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to kind of just connect them using the folds that you have. So you kind of just got to play around with it, honestly. I'm not really even sure if this is a real process to make flowers. But it worked one time for me. Okay. So you just kind of figure out where you want it to fold. And maybe you need to cut off more paper. Like this paper I can cut off after I fold it together. I see that I can cut it off. But you see how kind of the folds in the back kind of connect a little bit. So I'll just glue that. And then I've noticed that I lose a lot of flour on the paper, so after we'll go through and just like Mod Podge the paper a little bit to put some petals that have fallen off back on there. Like there's a piece back here that I don't need. Cut it off. Alright, and then the back. Kind of just play around. The name of the game is play. For this project, you kind of might want a glue that dries quick. So hot glue gun would be a good glue for this project. And see, I'm just cutting off the extra pieces because you don't need all of them of paper. You just kind of go. You can always cut off more, but you can't add more, so I wouldn't cut off too much in the beginning just in case. And then just take your glue and just connect any flower petals that are hanging on for dear life. Okay, but so far, that is what it's looking like. So what you can do is just leave it like this, or what I did for these is I cut slits. So first I decided to just use from the bunch that I made my flower paper with, the dried flowers, and you can just like trim around the edge to make it uniform. So the flower bunch that I used for this project, obviously all those stems are up for grabs. So I will go cut off a stem from like a dried flower that is no longer usable and add the stem to this. So all of these are real flower stems that I've cut off from other flowers and used. So I'll be right back and I'll grab a stem and then we'll finish up our flower. So I'm back with a flower, a dried flower, and I'm just going to go ahead, I mean there's no flower left on it, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut a nice stem for our paper flower. And what I found is helpful is just like putting the stem through like one of the folds in the paper. That way it kind of just stays secure. And you can decide if you'd rather like hide the stem, so put it in the back of the paper, or just leave it in the front. Also with this one there is like a hole, so if you could see I stuck the stem through the hole, so you really don't even need to glue it at that point because it's just stuck through the hole. But I will glue it on the back. Honestly, I really like how this has come out. I can't decide if I want to cut. I'm going to cut a little bit. So you just kind of cut along the creases, the folds, wherever you want to make it more like pinwheel shaped. And when you do that though, you might have to add a little bit more glue depending on where you cut, because you don't want the flower to like fall apart. So in the middle, I have been adding, like you could even use, that's actually really cool. I might just use a dried flower piece for the center of this flower. So just like repurposing things, but if you just glue the center and add a little like piece of paper. Oh, I like that a lot. That looks really cool. You see how I just added a little dried flower piece. In this one, I added a little petal in the center to kind of be the center of the flower. This one is an actual like center of a flower with little leaves that are hanging down, so I really like that. And then you can just go into the back and just, if anything feels unsturdy, you could just kind of glue them together. So the folded edges might start feeling unsturdy, and you just want to see where there's any gaps and just kind of glue it together. But I really like how this came out. Actually, I think it's my best one. So there you have it, my little paper flower in the paper clay vase. I think it looks really cute. You could also paint them, of course. You could combine a dried flower with your paper flower and use it just as decoration in your house. This would be a great, like a little gift because they don't go bad and you're still giving somebody flowers. I'm going to go ahead and make another one just in a different way. Cut it in half again. And let's see what we want to make. Let's see. Let's go ahead and roll this one and try and make a rose. Like if you just look at the rose, all it is just rolled and rolled and rolled. So what you could do even is cut these into thinner strips. Let's see. I'm just kind of experimenting here. Kind of roll out, like glue that edge to that. Let's see. This is all just in experimentation, guys. Just
all just figuring out what's gonna work. Let me do one more. Why not? And then for the bottom, just like cut it off. Diagonal. And just kind of like fold the bottom together. That's the way I like it. You have a little rose. So that one was just literally just a lot of like rolling. But I mean, all a rose is just rolling around. But you could even just use like the old paper and just like glue. Oh, that would look nice. Like just glue like the edges closed to make little petals. I mean, if you really want to make dried flowers, just play around with it. There's no wrong, right, or good way to do this, obviously. But I really like that addition with the paper on the bottoms to kind of cut or hide the edges. So just see what papers you have that, like, this one looks really nice. I mean, this is just like total play. But I think this looks really pretty as a little flower. Here's another little piece with a flower on it. Alright, so here's my little rose, and I'm going to go ahead and get another, where's that one stem? I could just use this stem. And then you just kind of stick the rose down in the bottom. Alright, so this is the little flower bouquet I have so far. Let's go ahead and take the dried flower up there. But we have our little paper rose, our paper pinwheel, and you can see the flower petals from our flower paper have like really shown through, and I think it looks so good. So that would be a really cute gift, or just a centerpiece for your table. We're gonna paint the vase next, and then yeah, I'll show you all of the paper series items together, and I'd love to know if you put something like this together for a friend for Valentine's Day. Like, what a cute little gift idea, just like paper flower bouquet and recycled paper bag and paper heart. So again, I'll show you the final product after the vase has been painted. I'll paint it on screen quickly with you, and I'll show you the final set. Alright, so I accidentally left my clay out all night, and so it is not the same nice consistency I had yesterday when I was molding it to the toilet paper roll. So as I was trying this morning, it just wasn't working. So I'm going to take this opportunity to show you how to use a bowl to just make a paper bowl. So you're just going to get saran wrap and line it inside the bowl, and you can begin from there. So there's my bowl. Again, when you're done, you can like sand it to make it nicer and not as lumpy, and like paint it and put napkins on it. I'll probably use this bowl for my buttons, for my sewing projects. A little button bowl. But there is a nice alternative to the flower vase if that does not turn out working for you. But there you go, just different ideas to use paper clay. There is the bowl. Alright, I went to Lowe's and I got some sander sponges because I feel like these will come in handy for paper clay projects. So I'm going to use this one.
I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge it. I thought it would be cool to use actual like petals and just create like kind of a cool design on the side for the vase. Or even going like up and down and around. So I'm going to kind of figure out how I'm going to do that. But first I'm going to go ahead and just give it a layer of Mod Podge to just like secure it and stuff, and then I can always figure out if I want to paint it after that. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and figure out what I want to do with leaves or how I want to decorate it. So I'm just using like more dried flowers and dried leaves that I have to kind of create my base. I don't know, I really like that, so I might do something like that. So we'll see. So this is what I've done so far. Decorating it, I still have to glue some of these pieces together, or on. I think it's really cute. I think I'd probably do that and give her a little tail. And then she's like a pretty fairy. So I'll probably do that. So there you have it. You can't really hold it very well. Especially not right now. But there you have it. You have this like little whimsical flower vase. Here is the finished vase and dried flowers. I added some roses in there. Little tail. I did Mod Podge gloss over the vase, and then I used hot glue and super glue, Gorilla Glue, to glue some flowers. And then I did spray it with a sealer. It's so cute. I love it. This is what you'll need for this project. Mod Podge, I use the UV resistant clear if you're going to use dried flowers or flower petals. That also works for your flower paper if you want to kind of secure them. It's an acrylic coating. The Mod Podge, I always call it Mod Podge. Mod Podge is for your paper clay vase and also a paper bowl if you want. This black paintbrush down there has the rounded paintbrush and then a flat edge for shaping and molding your clay. And then you'll need a paintbrush for your Mod Podge. And this is the whole set from videos 1 through 3. First we made the paper bags, second we made the flower paper, and then third we made these paper flowers with the paper clay vase. If you watched and followed along, thank you so much for watching. If you didn't catch the first 2 videos and want to create this whole set, you can go ahead and go back and watch my craft playlist. They're all on there. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and sending you some love today.